Direct Connection is made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you. Live from Maryland Public Television, this is Direct Connection with Jeff Salkin.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for Direct Connection. Coming up, Congressman John Sarbanes will join us to talk about gun control and other topics. But we begin tonight with our Your Health segment. Joining us in the studio is Stacy Fisher, Associate Professor of Medicine at the University of Maryland School of Medicine and cardiologist at the University of Maryland Medical Center. Doctor, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So you were telling me not only is this Heart Month, but that women's heart issues are under-recognized. Why is that?
It's not clear, although it's under-recognized by women, by providers, by family and friends. Women don't have that same sense of pressure or discomfort at the onset of a heart attack that often is described by men. Women often have a pressure or discomfort, but not a pain, and don't internalize that as a signal that there's a heart emergency.
But heart attacks are the leading cause of death for women as well, right?
Absolutely. It's 1 in 3 women that die of heart disease, meaning more than that have heart disease.
Is it different in any other respects between men and women?
It is. Often women present older with different comorbidities, like more frequently have diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, or all of those together. They often present about 8 to 10 years later than men. And in Maryland, in our state, we have a huge epidemic of obesity and high blood pressure. And often, even when that's recognized, it's undertreated.
How much of the problem is heredity, things that maybe we would have difficulty controlling, versus the things like the high blood pressure, the diabetes, that maybe there's a way to mitigate?
So there are factors that we can't control, although recognizing them may help us try to alter them and also help us recognize other factors. So for example, the ones we can control and influence are things like diabetes, smoking and nicotine products, blood pressure, weight, exercise, our diets. All of those are huge things that can have a huge impact on our health and what we do and how long we live. If you know you have a striking family history, you can still modify your cholesterol and the way you make cholesterol. You can identify your blood pressure and get it controlled. So 1 in 3 people with high blood pressure don't get it controlled.
We'll come back to prevention, but let's talk a little bit about treatment and how things are changing. What's the most exciting thing that you can do for somebody with the beginning stages of a heart problem?
So heart care is exciting because you can change everything. So with the beginning stages, you can try to stall disease and not let it progress at all. So if you really get control of your numbers, get your LDL cholesterol where it needs to be, get your HDL cholesterol by exercising and eating healthy where it needs to be, get your weight where it needs to be, you can truly stall disease in its process.
There are some striking regional differences in Maryland, different counties having different rates of heart disease. Is that a statistical fluke, or is there something going on there?
No, I think there's a lot going on there. I think there are areas in our state where they have less access to medical care. There are certainly areas that have less access to healthy foods. Food deserts, for example, where it's hard to actually get fresh fruits and vegetables. And in those food deserts, often obesity is huge. Certainly in the areas with higher poverty, you may see poorer diets, and you may see less access to exercise and recreational activities that relieve stress. So heart disease becomes very, very real and prevalent and in a higher amount in those areas.
What's the best way for a woman to get a sense of her heart risk? And how precise is it? If somebody gives you a score or a probability of having a heart attack at some point, how accurate, how meaningful is that number?
So the scores are pretty accurate as far as what is your risk, and everybody should leave their primary care doctor's appointments with some understanding of what is my personal risk of heart disease. And in people with intermediate risk, meaning I may or may not have some, there's something called a calcium score that can be very telling, where they do a few-second CAT scan that actually shows you how much plaque you've developed in your own heart arteries over your lifetime. It can be a powerful marker of what's developed in your lifetime in you. And that can really change whether or not you're willing to take medications, whether or not you're willing to exercise.
Let me remind our viewers, if you have a question for the doctor about heart disease, give us a call. We'll have the number up on the screen. You could also tweet your questions. The Twitter address is @MPT News. So what are the recommendations for a calcium score? Who do you think needs that test?
So I think that the people that are intermediate risk are the people that need that test. If you know that you have coronary disease, for example, you've had a heart attack or a stent or bypass surgery, you just don't need that test. You already know that you need aggressive care. You need to get those numbers way down. You need to take the medications. You need secondary risk guidelines. If you are proactive and have very low risk, you don't need that test. But if you're in the middle and you're not sure, should I or shouldn't I take a statin? Do I really need to get my cholesterol down immediately, or do I have some years to work on it and push it that way? If that's where you are, then you really don't need that. Then you really do need that test, and that's where it's going to change what you're willing to do.
Let's take a phone call from Harford County. This is Georgia. Georgia, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening.
Hi.
I'm calling to find out if, let's say you have a previous illness of epilepsy, you have other health issues such as cancer or something. Can that bring on more effects of I'm a congestive heart failure patient, and I've had two or three stents. Can that bring the condition on worse than it is?
That's a great question, Georgia. Best of luck to you. Thank you for the phone call.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, too. So really, because, again, heart disease is in so many people, and it's part of many of us. As Americans, we're all prone. Inflammatory diseases are the things that will give you the most likelihood of progressing to heart disease, or it can change the environment so the vessels are inflamed and are more likely to develop heart disease. So things like autoimmune problems like Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, those can increase your risk. So again, you want to be more active with other risks. We have now survivorship clinics for people that have survived radiation to the chest and cancer therapies, which cause heart disease in their own ways. So they can actually cause disease at the beginning of the vessels, or calcify the pericardium, or cause muscle disease from some of the cardiotoxic chemotherapies. So we have survivorship clinics and special screenings for those people.
Phone call from Arlington. This is Hillary. Hillary, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hi, I'd like to know what type of exercise is best for avoiding these types of reactions. Like, what type of cardiovascular exercise should women be focusing on? I personally am a runner. I do a lot of Peloton, and I'm just wondering if those are good enough exercises, or if there's anything else I should be doing.
Those are fantastic exercises, absolutely fantastic. So what we really need women to do is at least, well, everybody, honestly, is 30 minutes, 5 days a week of moderate level aerobic activity. And moderate for one person is going to be a little bit different than other people. So you want to look at your age, your other health risks. There should always be a warm-up and a cool-down to lower your risk of arrhythmia. And you want to have a continuous period where your heart rate's up. And that can be a continuous run, or it could be mixing things up a little bit, as long as your heart rate's up and stays up for that period of time.
So you said moderate exercise. Some of that sounded like pretty aggressive, soul cycle kind of exercise. Any risks in that?
So again, it depends on your underlying health and other conditions. So If you have something like heart failure, like our first caller, you want to modify your heart rate range. You want to also remember that you're on medications that may blunt the heart rate that you achieve. So you have to take that into account, and then you should talk to your doctor directly about it. Otherwise, again, as long as you have a warm-up, a cool-down, a good marker is that you can talk through your programs. So you can actually get a sentence out during your program. That would be a moderate level.
Montgomery County, this is Laura. Laura, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you for taking my call, and
Sure.
Good evening. My question is about heart palpitations and arrhythmia. And I'm wondering, particularly for women around menopausal age, if heart palpitations and arrhythmia are things that you should be concerned about. At what level should you be asking doctors for their advice?
Thank you very much. I mean, if you have one of those, you need a cardiologist.
So the first thing you can do is you can ask your primary care doctor. Sometimes it's really important to just check the hormone levels and check the thyroid levels, which can make the heart cycles a little bit erratic. So if those are off, dealing with those primarily can fix the heart palpitations. Anything, though, that gives you dizziness, lightheadedness, chest pain or pressure, or breathlessness or restricts your activity, that's where you should go to a cardiologist. Also, definitely look at the things you're getting in your diet. Is there too much caffeine? Are you using stimulants like Sudafed? Or certain cold and flu medications can cause heart palpitations. So look at what you're putting in your body. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting enough rest? And if you're still feeling any awareness of palpitations, that's where you really should see a cardiologist.
Before we go, let's come back to what you started the discussion with and the differences between the feeling, the symptoms of a heart attack in men and women, and why that's so important in terms of getting somebody to actually go to an emergency room.
Huge question, really, really important. So heart disease in women is under-recognized in part by the women. Women are caregivers, and they try not to take care of themselves. And recognizing that they're having trouble is a limitation that a lot of women struggle with. So calling 911 and being willing to get to the hospital is a challenge. And women are arriving 4 to 5 hours later than men on average, with much more damage because of the wait time, and poorer recoveries and a higher death rate because of the late presentations, late recognition. So we need women to look at what they're able to do. Can they do what they normally do in a day? Are they getting tired because of nothing? Are they not recovering from things? Are they getting breathless? Are people noticing that they're having trouble getting up and down the steps? And if you notice that in a friend or family member, you actually should say something to them so they have a chance to get treated before it's too late.
Great advice from Dr. Stacy Fisher, University of Maryland. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And Direct Connection continues right after this.
Got an unused vehicle going nowhere? Donate it to the one place that can take you any place. Visit mpt.org/vehicles and support the programs you love on MPT.
The MPT app puts our programs right at your fingertips, so you can choose when to watch, what to watch, wherever you want to watch it. Download it now.
What happens in Japan and Asia matters to me. And with NHK World's newsroom in Tokyo, I get the news live from Japan right at the start of my day.
New ideas come out of Asia all the time. NHK Newsline reports on business, technology, and world events from Tokyo to Bangkok.
Once in the morning gives me a heads up on the competition.
Every hour on the hour, the news I want from Asia.
Watch NHK World now on Comcast Channel 268 and Verizon Channel 480.
Are you turning 70 and a half this year? If so, you generally have to start spending down your retirement account. Even the minimum distribution can place you in a sticky situation. Luckily, you can now use your IRA to make tax-free gifts. Gifts up to $100,000 will never count as income, but always make a difference. That's icing on the cake.
Make your gift for this year before December 31st. Visit mpt.org/support.
Joining us in the studio now is Maryland's 3rd District Congressman John Sarbanes. Congressman, thank you for being with us.
Great to be here, Jeff.
This horrible shooting case, again, this time of Florida high school. The students, the surviving students have become activists. They're at the White House today. They're in Tallahassee tomorrow.
Yeah.
Does that change anything, do you think?
I think it could change things, absolutely. If you get young people engaged forcefully on an issue like this, it could make all the difference. And so I'm gratified to see that. You know, Fannie Lou Hamer once said, she was this great civil rights leader, as you know, she said, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." And I think increasingly a lot of Americans are sick and tired of helplessness in the face of gun violence, of the undue influence that's wielded in Washington by the gun lobby and the NRA. And I think you're starting to see people mobilize in a different direction. And I hope that will lead us to some very common sense measures that need to be put in place to try to increase gun safety across the country.
What are the elements of this? So we have what hardware is legal, what hardware is not legal. Then there's the question of who should be able to purchase what. Right. And then there's the question where you have a situation where there's been a complaint, there's a suspicion that somebody is unstable, homicidal, has weapons. When can authorities intervene? I mean, in this case, you obviously had people making good faith efforts to stop it, and it didn't work.
Unfortunately, there was a lot of signs here, and tips were being called in, and there's going to be a lot of investigation as to why those tips didn't kind of make it up the chain of command and lead to some kind of meaningful response here. But you're right, there's a lot of different pieces to this. There's guns, there's ammunition, there's who should have the guns, there's the system for alerting people. For example, we have this National Instant Criminal Background Check system that we need to further strengthen. Unfortunately, President Trump recently proposed a 16% reduction in funding for programs that include that background check system. So we've got to resource these things properly, but we have to look at what makes sense. Universal background checks make sense. A majority of gun owners, responsible gun owners in this country, think we need universal background checks. We need to have severe limitations on semi-automatic weapons, and I think a ban on automatic weapons. We used to have a ban. We don't have that in place now in the ways that I think we should. Maryland does pretty well on the scorecard of gun safety when you look around the country. We need to have national laws in place that I think mirror the kind of response we've put in place here if we're going to reduce gun violence.
And then people look at what has been done in Maryland in terms of laws within the state's borders. And despite all that, you have 340 homicides in Baltimore City, most of them by handgun.
You do. You can't control everything. You can't control the illicit exchange of guns that goes on, but you can try to reduce the supply over time, and you can put these basic checks in place. So, for example, somebody who's been flagged as having mental health issues is not in a position to buy a semi-automatic assault rifle, for example. So, you know, often this conversation gets to a place where people say, well, you can't solve everything. But we need to solve some of this. If you look at what happened in Connecticut after Sandy Hook, they put in place some very rigorous gun safety laws, and they've actually seen the incidence of gun violence decrease in a very substantial way. So there is evidence out there that if you put these things in place that don't in any way offend the Second Amendment, they don't undermine the responsible gun owner's right to have a weapon. If you put those in place, you can begin to address this issue of gun violence. And maybe that's going to start happening now. And I like seeing young people step up and say this is a priority for us.
Let's take a phone call. Montgomery County, this is Breckland. Thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hi, you're on.
The congressman said that teenagers could make a difference. And so I was wondering if he thinks that teenagers from Maryland, by going to and protesting at the White House, if he thinks that could result in legislation.
Thank you for the phone call.
Absolutely. I think anytime any part of our society decides to get engaged and mobilized and take something up as a cause, it can make a difference. We saw it last year when there were these efforts to repeal the Affordable Care Act, and people started pouring into town halls and rallying and marching. We saw what the Women's March led to in terms of sending a powerful message. Young people can be the vanguard of a movement to bring some common sense now to what happens with gun violence across the country. And I encourage them to do that. And, you know, adults ought to be ashamed that we haven't been able to take the action that we should over the last few years. We've been trying to get legislation to the floor of the House of Representatives. Unfortunately, Speaker Ryan will not bring a bill for universal background checks. He will not bring a bill to strengthen research into gun violence as a public health issue, which we very much think is needed. It is a public health crisis when you look across the country. 30,000 people dying from gun violence every year. 2/3 of those are suicides. This is an epidemic. We need to address it as a public health crisis, but we can't get funding for that. So there are things we can do. Young people can lead the way.
Call from Baltimore City. This is Joe. Joe, thank you for the call. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Or good evening.
A kind of two-part question. I understand the idea of my father was a hunter from South Carolina. So I understand the idea of young boys maybe wanting to shoot a .22 rifle. But is there any way we can put an age limit on someone having a rifle like this boy had in Florida? How can a 19-year-old be in possession of something like that? And the second part was, this is a very sensitive question. I don't believe that the tips were given. If this was a black kid with this kind of rifle, I don't believe the tips would have been ignored. And we have to address that part of the discussion too. That sometimes race has a difference in how to react to someone with a gun. Thanks for listening.
Joe, thank you.
So on the first question, there are actually some proposals to raise the age from, for example, 18 to 21 in terms of being able to get access to some of these automatic weapons. That's legislation that's been introduced. I support that. I'd like to see, frankly, some additional constraints put in place. But those are among the proposals, Jeff, that we're trying to get to the floor that we think would actually pass because they're common sense things if the leadership in Congress would let those things come to the floor. Hopefully we'll get pressure for that. In terms of, when does a tip actually get taken seriously or when does it not? Obviously, there's a lot of different lenses and filters that can be put on that. We have to make sure that we're handling that in a way that's neutral. We're going to see in this particular case why these tips didn't materialize, as I say, go up the chain in a way that got taken seriously. That's going to be looked into, and hopefully some very meaningful changes will be made so that the next time out, those tips are taken seriously.
When you look at your colleagues sitting in the House of Representatives on this issue, is it a left-right Republican Democrat divide, or is there a component of urban-rural as well?
I think when it comes to the basic measures, safety measures that we want to see in place, there really isn't a split. I mean, you have Republicans who acknowledge the importance of universal background checks. The leadership on most of these things is coming out of the Democratic corner. But in terms of urban, rural, everybody can look at this situation and understand that there's more that we can do to increase gun safety across the country or reduce gun violence, however you want to put it. We just need to do those things. And the failure of Congress to step up, I think, has left many Americans feeling helpless and frustrated. And they're beginning, though, to channel that into a counter to what has been a kind of dominant influence up till now from the NRA, which has pushed back against these reasonable measures, and frankly, the gun manufacturers who profit handsomely from the guns that they produce and put out into the society. So that's what we're up against, but I think that we can overcome that ultimately.
Let's get one more call. Montgomery County, this is Mark. Mark, thank you for the call. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening. I'm a constituent and very, very strong supporter of the congressman. I'd like to ask, Congress stop funding research in gun violence. Will the congressman introduce any bills to, one, support research in gun violence and perhaps develop a standardized checklist that law enforcement can use to identify those at risk for exhibiting gun violence?
All right, thank you very much.
I should add that today's President's Day, and it was James Madison who had written the Bill of Rights, including the Second Amendment.
Mark, I got to leave it there because we're down to half a minute.
Well,
Sir.
the call will be glad to know I'm a co-sponsor of a bill that would support enhanced resources for research into gun violence as a public health issue. And on Friday, all the Democratic members of the Energy and Commerce Committee sent a letter to the chair of our committee, Republican Chairman Walden, saying our committee needs to start having hearings on how we address gun violence as a public health crisis and do the research that needs to be done.
Congressman John Sarbanes, Maryland's 3rd District, thanks for the time.
Thanks, Jeff.
Appreciate it. Coming up Thursday at this time on Your Money and Business, how the members of a local curling club keep their brooms going in between the Olympics. Join us for that Thursday at 7. Now, for all of us here at MPT, I'm Jeff Salkin. Thanks for watching and have a good night.
Your health segments are a co-production of Maryland Public Television and the University of Maryland Medical System.
This program was made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities.